All right, welcome to Level Yourself Up, where it's not about perfection but progress. I'm your host, John Budd, and I'm excited to be with you today. And I'm going to talk about self-image, and I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Who do you think you are? Who do you believe you are? And how do you think of yourself? And how does that dictate how you live? I've been thinking about this for a while, in that I think we have to understand the difference in our self-image. When we have a good, healthy self-image, it dictates how we talk to ourselves. And our self-talk can really undermine or promote good growth and healthy living amongst ourselves and our friends and family. So, you know, that inner voice, that self-talk, that where we often beat ourselves up and hold ourselves to some higher standard that we can't really meet. Yeah, that voice. Sometimes we just need to tell it to shut up. So I want you to think about those questions. Who do you think you are as a person? How do you see yourself? And then how do we let that definition or who we are live in the world? Because these internal dialogues form and influences by our experience and our society and our personal beliefs. They flow into that and they impact who we are and how we react back to our friends, family, and loved ones, and to the world. I think there's some things we need to look at as positive self-talk. You know, let's think about how positive self-talk increases our confidence, our resilience, and just helps us, our mental clarity and mental health. I think when we are positive in our self-talk, we talk nice to ourselves. Sometimes our talk that we have is we treat ourselves worse than we would our friend. And then negative self-talk, we know what that is, right? But that can infect us. It can make us draw in. It can limit us in our beliefs. It limits us in our growth as people. And I think we have to figure out and identify when we are talking negative, how do we stop that? I think you need to create a list of ways that when you realize, what do you talk bad about yourself? Where are you the most critical? Is it when you're trying something new? Is it, I think that's when our boundaries are tested. When we're doing something new and things don't work out, we can get this defeatism, but I think it inflicts us at other places in our life. And I think that's why it's important to have this internal dialogue and identify the patterns of negative self-talk. Because I want to say this, in Genesis 1:27, God created man in his own image, and we were created in the image of God. And I want to think about how you carry yourself. See, I think your self-image goes so much in how we interact with the world. In Exodus chapter 20, verse 7 says, "You shall not take God's name in vain." Now, that's often looked at cursing and cussing, and I don't think it's good to do those things. But that word bearing really means to carry. How do we carry God's presence into the world? And if you were created in God's presence, how do you carry that? And I want to tell you that the enemy of your soul would like to tear you down first. And I want you to think about how you talk internally to yourself. Would you allow a person to talk about your best friend the way you talk to yourself? And that's what I mean about setting up, identifying those patterns and stopping it. I think if you have some good positive affirmations, that helps. That's why it's always good to be grateful, to start off with gratitude every day. And when something goes wrong and it's not right, why don't we ask ourselves, what can you learn from this? What can you be grateful for this situation, even though it's not in your favor? And it can be hard. It's not easy always. What about just having a list of positive affirmations, things that you want to align with? And I'm not talking about faking it till you're making it. I'm just talking about start being who you want to be. It's kind of like a toddler walking. It may not look pretty at the beginning. And I want you to encourage to keep daily reinforcing those beliefs. Because I think some of us have a very negative outlook on ourselves, a very unhealthy outlook on ourselves that we don't often share with people. I think it's important to surround yourself with positive people. And by surrounding yourself by positive people, they'll be uplifting They'll engage you in activities and bring you joy. And I think it can also be that they will help you along the way. But also think about when you surround yourself with positive people, maybe it's just watching what you consume. What kind of content, podcast, or music are you consuming? Because music can affect our attitude and our mind. I think there's a place for mindfulness and meditation to create a space for us to think about how we're treating ourselves. And I think we have to focus on our strength and encourage ourselves to push through certain aspects of life that is tough. And I think that goes back to why it's good to have friends and positive people that will speak life into you when life is treating you bad. What about setting real goals and realize that the goals are just too hard, and so maybe we need to idle them back a little bit? And when I say idle them back, it's not that we don't make progress on them. It's just that we need to reward the little goals, the day-to-day. It's the repeating the goals day after day, or the plan of action. So we set goals, and as we start working towards these goals, we need to take action every day towards those goals. And it may not be as big as others, but they can be. Maybe they're greater than others and other people can't keep up. So be gentle those that can't keep up. But I think it's set realistic goals that's personal for you, where you're at in your life with your circumstance. Everybody's life's different. I can't set goals for you because your life's not like mine, and vice versa. Everybody's life is personal. I think sometimes that's the other thing. If we allow others to dictate our goals, or we have to live up to their standard, that can be a little difficult. Oh, and this was my other thought about how things that affect our self-image is that we allow people that really don't know us, whether it's on social media or a movie, or maybe it's just idle friends at work, they really don't know us, and we let them kind of, encroach on who we want to be and who we are. And I think we got to handle them with loving kindness. Sometimes silence covers a lot of that, and just being quiet. Learn from the setbacks. I think we have to remind ourselves that setbacks are part of life. We got to encourage ourselves to view the challenges as opportunities of growth rather than failures. I think too often we'll see things as failures, not for a way to learn. I think it's be real careful about the social media. It goes back to our friends and what we're feeding ourselves. I think we need a good, healthy, I don't want to say social media, but we need good, healthy things coming into us. It's kind of like the food we eat. If we eat garbage in is garbage out. And so let's protect what's coming into our minds and to our hearts, because they all affect who you are as a person. I think we have to practice self-compassion. I kind of brought this up earlier. We have to encourage that we treat ourselves with the same loving kindness and understanding that we would to a friend during difficult times and challenges. There's also a high connection between physical activity and well-being, and that doesn't just mean exercise. Maybe it's just getting out and walk. I think being outside is just so important to me, to be outside in nature. But you got to find that. And I love going for walks even around the yard, but I don't want to downplay getting physical either and having good physical activity. So I think the other one is thinking about and identifying challenges, negative thought patterns, and replace them with more positive, balanced thought patterns. And for me, that can be recognizing those patterns is difficult. But what I can say is when I'm tired, I tend to be I treat myself differently. I can be very hard on myself. And I have to often remind myself, if I believe that Jesus died for my sins, that God sent his only son to die for me, then how valuable am I really as a person? And I would challenge you to think about that. And I think there's a place to go seek out a good therapist or coach if we're really getting stuck and you're really getting negative, when you get to a place that you're beating yourself up and are suicidal, if you are causing yourself bodily harm, then we need outside help. But I do believe that a lot of this goes back to how we see ourselves. We treat ourselves. This unspoken image that we have dictates a lot of how we treat ourselves. So I want to give you a couple positive affirmations that may be a little cliche. So make them how you want. But think about, I am capable and resilient, and I can handle whatever comes my way with grace and strength. My worth is not determined by my productivity. I am valuable just as I am. I deserve to prioritize self-care. And I think that's important, that when we realize that we need a break, take care of yourself. But think about what I said earlier. Maybe it's going for a walk. Change. Don't just go unplug or go to an escape from your problems. What about trusting in your abilities and believe in your potential? Each day I become the best version of myself. I embrace progress, not perfection. I celebrate my efforts, and I'm proud of the journey I'm on. I'm deserving of happiness, love, and success. I attract positive opportunities, and I am open to a life of abundance. Now, those were just some simple ones, but here's some Bible verses. Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through him, Christ, who strengthens me. Psalms 139:14 says, I will praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full and well. Isaiah 41:10, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you with my righteous right hand. And Romans 8:37, in all things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans of the Lord. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for welfare, not for evil. I think that word is good. I think this is the NIV version. Not for evil, to give you a future and good hope. So Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. And then Matthew 11:28, come to me, all you are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. A lot of these verses have gratitude, humility, but yet they are positive affirmations. They strengthen us. They encourage us. And that's what I hope this podcast today about self-image is, to really challenge your self-image and the darkness that you hide in yourself, that you don't share with others. Those thoughts that you allow to beat you up, whether they're the enemy or your thoughts. What are you doing with those thoughts that you allow to beat yourself up? Now, I'm not going to touch on all these, but I do have a list of things that we often allow us to be negatives in our life and that affect our self-image and our self-talk. And that's perfectionism. That's just thinking you got to be perfect all the time. And sometimes we set an unrealistic standard. Comparing ourselves to others. I think I touched on this before. When we are on social media, if we're not careful, we think we ought to have a life like they have. And I'm not always sure those people in social media have the life they want, especially the ones that are claiming they're making $4,000 a month or $10,000 a month. And you look in the background to where they live, and I see some of the things I see in the background, and I'll leave that like that. I don't know if I believe those. I think we can hold our past mistakes, dwelling on past mistakes and failures, and we let them hold us back, and we base our life off of who we used to be, not who we are now. And that kind of goes back to negative feedback from others. Sometimes I think that negative feedback might have meant be constructive, but we have allowed it to become this monster that's not true. There's this imposter syndrome, feeling a fraud, like you don't deserve success, or faking it till you make it, that mentality. But I think what we have to do is start stepping into your person of who you are and knowing you're not going to do it perfect. Just like a child doesn't always walk without falling down. What about your body issues? Unrealistic standards of beauty. I want you to really look around at the average person and versus what Hollywood portrays. Now, I do believe I myself am overweight, and I do believe that we have a weight problem. But even if we got down to all at the ideal body weight, everything Hollywood projects as beauty is not really beauty. Because I think beauty comes from the heart and within. I think sometimes we don't set good enough boundaries. And that may be whether we say no or how we allow people to talk to us. So there's, I think, good, healthy boundaries we need to think about. Sometimes we don't do things because of fear of man. We're fear of rejection of people, fear of what man will think. When I say man, I mean people. And we also allow childhood experiences really can shape us. And unfortunately, I think it can affect us. And I think that's part of this growing up. None of us grew up perfect. Well, we all suffer from some childhood experience. But I want to reiterate kind of 2 or 3 things that you can do to help your self-image. 1, just evaluate who you are and who you want to be. Practice gratitude. Practice positive affirmations. I think having Bible scriptures nearby help us. I think challenging those negative thoughts that we do have and finding the positive and the good in them. And if you can't find the good, maybe talk to a friend, let them help them. Maybe they can help you find the good. Surround yourself with positive people. Focus on your strengths, setting realistic goals. Don't treat yourself worse than you would treat your friend. So that's my advice to you, is about how you see your self-image. I hope it came across right. I want to say that as we are working on our self-image and who we are, it has to start from our heart and being real with ourselves. So with that, I'm going to leave you with this episode. I want to encourage you to be the best person you can be. And if you'd like to contact me, I'll work with you, setting up some coaching. I'd love to help you become the best person you desire to be. All right. God bless, my friends.